Alright, doing another Reviewing Network Talks About preview video here, and this one's going to be mostly talking about a movie that just came out recently. It came out in theaters, and you'd be surprised to find out that this movie is already on digital not too long after its release. I mean, it was literally in theaters 18 days ago, and then 18 days prior to its first release on digital, and now it's available to watch on digital. And it's a film that really, when you look at everything about it, from the way it was promoted to the way it was released in the theaters, it's kind of hard not to see why, but at the same time, there's still some stuff to talk about. And I'm, of course, talking about Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, the latest film from Dreamworks Animation, which you would think after the double home run they had last year with The Bad Guys and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, they would put this movie up there to try to get the same buzz going, that the movie would hopefully make some more money than what it eventually did. But when you put it up against Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and you literally wait until the last minute to promote it, there's clearly going to be some things to talk about here. But now, before we get into the movie itself, it's kind of important to talk about what the movie is, what happened prior to this. Why did this end up being what it is right now? So let's go ahead and take a look at a little bit of a backstory behind this film. This was a film that was first announced back in the summer of 2021. They had Paul Tibbitt from SpongeBob SquarePants announced as a director for this movie, and Pam Brady, who's been known for her work on South Park and also Hamlet 2, was going to write the script for it. And production started in 2022, and then not but a couple of years after this, after the film got announced, they changed the voice cast around. Several voice actors that were supposed to be in the movie dropped out. Specifically, Laura Dern and Michael Sheen, both were not in the finished product, in the final film. Laura Dern was eventually replaced by Toni Collette, and I'm trying to see who replaced Michael Sheen as the father, or did they get... Well, Michael Sheen was supposed to play Ruby's father in the movie, but he's now played by Coleman Domingo. And they changed a lot of the casting around here, and the weird thing about the movie is just the way that they started promoting the film. They didn't start promoting this movie. Well, first of all, they didn't even schedule the movie until December 2022. It was first announced in December 2022 that the film was coming out this year. And usually with these animated movies, you usually announce these movies' release dates years in advance. Like, you don't usually announce them less than 6 months in advance, and unless there's something going on there that we don't know about. But not but 3 months after that, the first trailer came out, and they set the release date there for June 30th, 2023. And that should bring us into the next topic of conversation here, with why this is probably the main reason why the film did not do so well. And that's because the trailer for this movie was really bad. That first trailer that came out, it had too much dialogue. There was too much dialogue in it. It felt like they were giving away way too much of the story. Yeah, the animation looks great and all. It's got a great voice cast to it. But one of my first problems going into that trailer the first time I saw it was the fact that the film just... It felt like the movie was trying to tell you every single thing about the movie. And I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. I don't know what they were thinking at DreamWorks Animation when they thought about that. The second trailer they put out a couple months after was better, but at the same time, it still had a lot of flaws to it. Like, they took away most of the explaining the story and started putting in the cringy moments of the movie, the cringy jokes of the film. Like, there's moments in there that I just feel like the lines in that second trailer are... Basically, it didn't help the movie in any way, shape, or form. And it also doesn't help that the movie didn't do well because there was only a 3-month marketing plan for this movie. I mean, DreamWorks Animation is owned by Universal. Universal promotes these movies well in advance, like especially the Illumination movies. I mean, they promoted Minions: The Rise of Gru for 2 years straight before the movie finally made it to theaters. I mean, they were showing promos for this during the Olympics in 2021, and the film didn't come out until 2022. I mean, they promoted that, they promoted Sing 2 like crazy, they promoted the Super Mario Brothers movie like crazy, they even did it with DreamWorks films, The Bad Guys and Puss in Boots. So, it's crazy to think that this movie from DreamWorks doesn't get anywhere near the level of promotion that those movies got, despite the fact that this is the same company that's doing the marketing for this film. It's just like, it's just a weird thing that they're doing there, and it's just like, I really don't understand why they thought that was a good decision to wait until the last minute to start promoting this stuff. It's just like, it's really confusing what they did, how they did it, and the film suffered because of it. As of right now, the film only brought in under $15 million in the U.S. alone, and has a worldwide gross of $35 million. I mean, this film bombed hard. Like, this is, I had to look at the list of all the DreamWorks animated films they've done. This is the lowest grossing film they've done in their entire history, and that is saying a lot. This is a studio that put some notorious misfires, like big bombs, like Sinbad Legend of the Seven Seas was a huge bomb. The Road to El Dorado wasn't the big hit that they thought it was going to be. Spirit Sally of the Cimarron was a great movie, but it wasn't a huge financial hit. Spirit Untamed was a bomb. The Cruise of New Age was not a. The Cruise of New Age was a success. So was The Boss Baby Family Business. They've had a lot of movies that have not been big successes. And really, this is the worst one yet. I mean, this film only brought in $15 million worldwide. $15 million in total, plus hold on, I'm getting two different numbers here. 15 million in the U.S., 20 million in other territories, for a worldwide gross of $35 million, which is still really, really low considering the other movies that the studio has done. Like, this is a huge failure for a studio with the name of DreamWorks Animation, and you just gotta wonder, what were they thinking with this movie? And, is the movie really that bad for it? Well, let's talk about the story for the film. The movie centers around this shy but kind 15-year-old girl named Ruby Gillman, who's played by Lana Condor, who's desperately trying to fit in at this oceanside high school in California. But when she went into the ocean by breaking her mother's rule, the mother played by Toni Collette, with any would-be friends, she discovers that she is a direct descendant of battle-hardened Krakens who have to protect their land and sea from evil mermaids for generations, and is also destined to inherit the throne from her commanding grandmother, the warrior queen of the Seven Seas, played by Jane Fonda. You also see in the trailers for this that Ruby has this girl that she ends up kind of befriending named Chelsea, played by Annie Murphy, who I've really grown to like over the last couple of years. Of course, you know her from Schitt's Creek, but I've seen her in a lot of stuff that she's been really good in. Kevin Can F Himself, Russian Doll. She was on Black Mirror. She's even done some commercials that are actually legitimately funny. There's one I can't remember what it was, but I think it was for like some kind of I thought it was for like some tampons. I'm looking at the name of it here, Fexy, where she plays I guess she plays like some kind of. I can't really remember what she was trying to be in those commercials. It's been a couple of years since these commercials have been on TV, so that's why I couldn't figure it out. She was basically playing herself, talking about her personal birth control journey and all the reasons why this company she's sponsoring is the right contraceptive for her. And they were actually pretty good commercials, and I've just really grown to love this actress, and so many things. And I'm really excited to see where she goes from here, because I think she's a really good actress, and she was really good in this movie too. I think she was actually really enjoyable in this film. But in the trailers, you kind of figure out that this is you pretty much know exactly what it's going to be going forward, and it's a weird thing to show every single thing from the trailer for this movie. And so I went into this movie with very low expectations, quite honestly. I didn't really expect a whole lot from this movie to be that great to begin with, mostly because of how lackluster the trailers were and how it looked like there was zero effort in to actually try to market this film. So I finally watched the movie, and I gotta be honest with you, I'm actually really upset about the way this movie has been handled. Like, the movie actually is a good film. It's not a classic by any means. It doesn't even pale in comparison to some of DreamWorks' best movies overall, but it certainly is a lot better and should have gotten much more reception than what Universal and DreamWorks decided to do to market the film. First off, this is directed by Kirk DAmico, who has made some really good movies for the studio, including just in animation in general. He directed The Croods, which is a really good film. He made the very underrated Vivo for Sony Pictures Animation, which, if you have not seen this movie, you have to check that movie out. Really great film. Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote the songs for that. It's a really, really good film. And Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken is a very enjoyable film. Now, I will admit, the problems I have with the movie are pretty much everything from what I said about the trailers. I mean, the trailers pretty much give away every single plot point of the film. And that really hurts the movie, because you don't want your trailers to really spoil all the big stuff that's going to happen in the film. You want to be on the edge of your seat, and you want to be surprised by what happens. But in the trailers for this, you pretty much see everything that happens in the movie. There's no real surprises within the film whatsoever, and that to me really hurts the movie as a whole, because I knew everything going into it, and so there was no real surprise to the film whatsoever. And I was really let down by the fact that the trailers pretty much showed you everything, and the movie itself didn't really do anything too surprising about it. And I think that's really is the worst thing I could say about the movie, is that the story is very formulaic, and the story that from the trailer pretty much gives you everything you kind of need to know about the film. Now, with that said, there are a lot of elements to the film I really like. I love the visual look of the film. I think the animation overall is top-notch. I think this is some really great stuff. If I'd seen this on the big screen, I would have been very happy with what I saw. I think this is a very good-looking film. Some very good stylized animation. It's not quite on the same levels as something like The Bad Guys or Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which had some really good animation reminiscent of Into the Spider-Verse and the Peanuts movie, although some of these movies that are really defining the new generation of animation. It's a pretty standard animated film, but it's a very nice looking animated film. I think the voice cast overall is top-notch. Lana Condor playing Ruby Gillman is very likable in the film. You do like it. Annie Murphy is a fun character in this movie as well. You know, Toni Collette, Jane Fonda, Coleman Domingo, Sam Richardson, Liza Koshy, Will Forte, listen to me. And the big surprise in here, Jabuki Young White, who I completely forgot was Ethan in Strange World, which is another really great film that got completely shot over. That was by Disney, by the way. He plays the love interest to Ruby Gillman in this movie, and he's actually really good in the film too. I couldn't believe that I forgot that was actually him, because his voices are very different compared to Strange World in this, and I like that he's getting more roles, because I actually did like him in Strange World, which is a very underrated movie, and I like him in this film as well. I think the voice acting overall is very good. The comedy overall is pretty good. Even some of those cringy moments in the trailer that I thought were going to be terrible, they actually did most times they did find a way to make it work. It was actually nicely well done. The action overall is top notch. I like the third act climax of the film very much. I think it is a very well made film. You can tell the film takes a lot of inspiration from some movies like Easy A, Booksmart, which is one of my favorite movies from 2019. Many John Hughes movies, Lady Bird. Like, you could definitely tell there's a lot of inspiration taken from those films and put into here. And a lot, especially also with Luca. I think that Luca has a lot to do with this movie becoming what it is, because Luca has a lot of the same aspects as this film, even though Luca, I think, is a far superior movie overall. But, the film overall isn't a bad movie, far from it. I think it is a very solid film. Like I said, it's not one of DreamWorks' best animated movies, but it really should have gotten a bigger push. Like, DreamWorks and Universal really needed to give this movie a bigger push than they did, because this just takes me back to the last couple times that DreamWorks animated movies that were actually good got screwed over big time because of bad studio decisions. Yeah, DreamWorks has done this not once, not twice, but now 3 times. I mean, go back to 2014. They had The Penguins of Madagascar, the spin-off to the Madagascar series, as a movie, and it was a fun movie. It was actually a really enjoyable film. But they decided to put it out on Thanksgiving weekend in a place where you had a Disney movie in Big Hero 6, The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 had just come out. These are 2 big movies, and they're taking all the family competition away. Meanwhile, The Penguins of Madagascar struggled to make money, and it felt like DreamWorks just kind of dumped it out there to have no chance to succeed. Meanwhile, the next movie they put out, the movie Home, which is really one of their worst movies. I hate that movie so much. Like, it's a movie that should have been a whole lot better, consider the cast that they have there, Jim Parsons, Rihanna, but some of the characters in that movie are so obnoxious, the jokes are not funny, the writing isn't clever. That movie is not very good, and yet it got a better releasing strategy than Kung Fu Panda 3. Listen to me talking about some other movies there, but actually no, that's another one. Kung Fu Panda 2 was another movie that got screwed over by bad placement, because people went to go see The Hangover Part 2 instead of seeing the much superior Kung Fu Panda 2 that is around that time. In fact, this happens more times than I think, but the point I was trying to make here with Home was that Home got a release date that had no competition whatsoever. There was nothing going up. There was literally nothing going against it when it came out in terms of the family market. And the film made much more money than it should. have. I really don't think this movie should have been a success whatsoever, but yet Home got a free pass, and Penguins of Madagascar just had to sit there and deal with it. Then 2017 happened. I mean, The Boss Baby came out in March of 2017 with no family competition really to go against it, except for Beauty and the Beast, but people went to go see it. And it became a hit because Alec Baldwin was doing Donald Trump on Saturday Night Live, so let's cash in as quickly as we can. And that movie was also terrible too. It's not a good movie whatsoever. I don't care. Like, I like Alec Baldwin as an actor, but it was a one-joke premise stretched out to a 90-minute movie, and it was not funny whatsoever. Meanwhile, the better movie from DreamWorks Animation that came out in 2017, Captain Underpants, the first epic movie, came out in the early summer, was much funnier, much more clever. Great animation, great comedy, faithfulness to the original book series, the great voice acting by Ed Helms, Kevin Hart, Thomas Middleditch, Nick Kroll. Just a funny movie, a very underrated animated film. Was a really great movie that didn't do jack squat at the box office. And why was that? Because they released it on the same day as Wonder Woman. Yeah, Wonder Woman basically came out the same day. DreamWorks basically said, we're not even going to bother to move this. We're just going to accept our losses and just take it up. It's just like, nobody went to go see it, and nobody really ever talks about it, but it's a really good movie. It's a really well-made film, and it made less money than what The Boss Baby did, which was the bigger success, and you just can't help but get mad at that. Even Disney has been known to do this on several occasions. Like, what they put out Winnie the Pooh in 2011. So what did they do? What weekend did they put it up against? They put it out on the same weekend as Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and what happens? Winnie the Pooh crashed and burned at the box office, even though that's a great film as well. Hell, last year, the Bob's Burgers movie came out. It was a decent hit, but it was quickly forgotten pretty quickly because it opened on the same weekend as Top Gun Maverick. And it's not like there weren't other weekends before and after Top Gun Maverick you could have put the Bob's Burgers movies in. You could have put it in the same weekend prior to Top Gun Maverick. I mean, really, who's going to go see Downton Abbey and New Age? I mean, I guess a lot of people did, but you still could have put it out you could have put it out after that. You could have put out after the weekend after Top Gun Maverick, being between that and also Jurassic World Dominion. Like, that weekend was wide open as well. It's just like they dumped that movie out there, and this is one of those things where it's just like, you could just tell that these studios don't take animation as seriously as they should. Like, it's why we have to have this conversation that animation is cinema. Like, it's just as important as live action films. I've said it before that animation right now is kicking the ever-loving crap out of live action right now, and live action really just can't compete right now. You have a couple of exceptions here or there, but animation really has been strong, especially this year. Think about the movies we've had this year so far. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is the best movie of the year so far. Nimona was a film that Disney dumped when they shut down Blue Sky Studios, and that film finally came out, and that's one of the best films of the year. The Super Mario Brothers movie gave everybody what they wanted to see, and we had Elemental, which people are slowly but surely coming around to after starting off with a low box office. And here you have this movie that should have gotten more than what they got, and it just got dumped out of nowhere. Like, nobody really at DreamWorks cared about this movie. And if you're not going to put this movie out there and put the effort into it that you do for your other movies, then why the hell did you even bother to put it out to begin with? Were you really that desperate to put an animated film on the same weekend as Indiana Jones? Like, was that really your plan all along? Could you just put it somewhere else? Like, what's to stop you from putting this out in, like, August or September? I mean, you put movies out in August or September before, and they've done pretty well, but, like, this... Like, I don't get it, man. I really don't get it, and we could really delve into this conversation, but that's for another video, honestly, and I'll get into that at another time. Like, I like the fact that now that I'm doing this in video format, I can actually delve into topics that I've been wanting to cover for years now in blog posts and do it straight up in a video, and we're going to be doing that when the actual Reviewing Network Talks About show eventually gets going. But I wanted to make this video to talk about this movie, Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, which, like I said before, despite the fact that it's gotten zero promotion, it was rushed into theaters and got reamed by everybody. It was not a big hit critically or financially. The movie actually isn't bad. It's actually a good film. It's not a classic by any means necessary, but I think the animation overall is very good. The voice acting is very good. The writing overall is pretty solid as well. The action sequences are nicely done. The visuals are very nice. There are a lot of good elements to it. I just wish the trailers didn't spoil everything before the movie actually came out, and more effort had been put into it to get this movie out there and get this seen by a larger group of people. But they just kind of dumped it out there, and in a way, they kind of did the same thing that happened to Strange World last year. And I like Strange World a lot. I really enjoyed Strange World. I think that's a far superior film. But this movie, with Dreamworks Animation behind it, the studio behind Shrek, the studio that behind Madagascar, How to Train Your Dragon, The Croods, all these great franchises from them, Kung Fu Panda, like, you expect a whole lot more from them, especially with Universal behind them. Like, Universal, when Dreamworks came to Universal, that was supposed to be the big animation conglomerate now. That was supposed to be Universal, supposed to have both Dreamworks and Illumination, kind of like how Disney has Disney and Pixar. And yet, a movie like this comes out and they do nothing to promote it, and that's what really irks me about this movie. I think if you go into this movie giving it the benefit of a doubt, giving it a chance, and actually watching the movie, I think you'll come out of it really enjoying it. I do give the movie a good recommendation. I give it a marginal thumbs up for it. I think that if the story wasn't completely spoiled beforehand, I feel like this movie could have been a whole lot better. It could have been more intriguing. But the stuff that they have in here is really good. I think there's a lot to get behind with this film. I think it is a well-made film. It certainly isn't going to be up there with some of the other animated films we've seen this year, but it's still more than good enough to see, and it should have been more success. Should have gotten more of a response from people than what it's gotten, because DreamWorks decided not to believe in it for no real reason whatsoever. Like I'm fascinated to figure out what happened with this movie. Like, why did they rush it out so quickly, only to do absolutely nothing to promote it or to get it out there or get the buzz going on it, like they do with all the other movies within their studio, like like I've talked about it, Super Mario Brothers, Minions, Sing 2, Puss in Boots, The Bad Guys. They promoted all these movies years and years in advance, and yet this movie was rushed out there with no real response to it, and nobody really went to go see it. If you can find it on digital, if it's out on digital now, I'd say definitely check it out there. If you can still find it in theaters, which might be a little bit tough to do considering what's coming up this weekend, it's going to take up a lot of the theaters that this movie is in, I would probably check it out there, because I think this would look nice on a big screen. But even at home on a good high-definition television, I think this is more than worth it. I do recommend this movie. If you like some of DreamWorks Animation's other movies, you'll definitely get a lot of this movie to really appreciate from it. I just wish it was a lot better in terms of the way it was marketed, the way that they don't spoil every single thing before you even see the movie. I think it deserved a lot better treatment than what it got. This movie should have gotten much better treatment than DreamWorks gave it. Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, definitely check it out. I think you might be pleasantly surprised with it. I know I was, because the trailers for it turned me away from it, but when I actually watched the film, I came out of it like, that was actually really good. I don't understand why nobody at DreamWorks really promoted this as much as they should have. And I don't know. Did you see Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken? I want to know your thoughts down below. Do you agree with me? Do you think the trailers gave away way too much to really not get you interested in this? Did you actually see the movie? Did you think it was actually good? Did you not like it? Let me know your thoughts down below. If you want to check out some of the other videos I've done on this in terms of these discussion videos that I've done, you can check them out with a playlist here, and also subscribe to our two channels, the Reviewing Network and the forthcoming Reviewing Network Live, coming up on September the 3rd with regular episodes, with a preview coming up on August the 6th. I want to do a quick video on this movie because it deserves a little bit more praise than I think it's getting right now. It's not a great film overall, but it definitely deserves more respect than it's getting right now. So, thank you very much for listening into this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time for another video. So until then, take care.